All right. Vasily Lomachenko does not think very highly of Teofimo Lopez, the once and maybe future star prospect out of Top Rank. Let's talk about what Lomachenko has to say about him and what's going on with Lomachenko in the lightweight division. All right, welcome back to the channel, subscribers. If you are not subscribed, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. That way you can be notified of when we release more videos. Once again, special thank you to all the Patreons over on our channel, over our Patreon channel. Thank you guys so much for your support. Thank you so much to everybody that comes to the live streams, supports through the super chat, supports through the Cash App, and everybody that just has those daily conversations with us about boxing. You are much, much appreciated. On every Monday through Friday, right around 11 a.m. Eastern Standard, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on OG Boxing Talk Sunday mornings. So let's get into this, man. Vasily Lomachenko, who will be going over to the UK to fight Luke Campbell, the Olympic gold medalist. So this will be a fight between a two-time Olympic gold medalist in Vasily Lomachenko and a one-time Olympic gold medalist in Campbell, Luke Campbell. They both, I do believe they have one opponent in common, that being Jorge Linares. As we know, Vasily Lomachenko beat Jorge Linares in a good fight. It was the first time in his career that Lomachenko had been knocked down, but he fights on, he gets up, fights on, stops Jorge Linares with a body shot. Maybe a fight, two fights before that is when Jorge Linares fought Luke Campbell in an unexpectedly good competition between Luke Campbell and Jorge Linares. Jorge Linares, of course, won the fight, but Luke Campbell looked pretty decent in it, man. I think Luke Campbell's a pretty decent fighter. I think that this is going to be a good fight for Vasily Lomachenko in the UK. You got a much bigger guy. But so in the lead up to this, there's the fight between Vasily Lomachenko and Luke Campbell, the mandatory. I do believe that it was mandated that they fight for it might be the vacant WBC belt. Somebody let me know in the comment section, but I do know that this will probably be the third championship belt for Vasily Lomachenko if he beats Luke Campbell. Now, in the lead up to this fight, Vasily Lomachenko mentioned Teofimo Lopez and how Teofimo Lopez went the distance with a nobody. Now, I think his name is Nakatani. If you recall, just last weekend on Friday, that would be, this right now is the 23rd of July. So the Friday was preceding this date. Teofimo Lopez fought Nakatani on ESPN Plus. And it was an unexpectedly grueling fight for Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo Lopez was stalking Nakatani the whole fight, getting hit with jabs pretty regularly, straight right hands. Teofimo Lopez winds up winning the fight, but you know, he was less than impressive, man. So going the distance with him was not a good look. I made a video about that as well, comparing his performance to Shakur Stevenson's performance. And obviously I said that Shakur Stevenson, I think, looked considerably better than Teofimo Lopez did. Now you have Lomachenko coming out there kind of laughing at him. Now, one thing that I'm going to say about Vasily Lomachenko can call some fights, man. Vasily Lomachenko can call some fights. I have to tell you, man, I've been watching this guy's prediction and what he said about fights and who he thinks is gonna win. He has a pretty good eye for calling fights, man, when he says who he thinks the winner is gonna be. When he was asked about, now this wasn't rocket science, this particular example. When he was asked, Vasily Lomachenko was asked about the Mikey Garcia fight with Errol Spence, he said no. No, big, no, he can't win that fight. It's too big, no. And you know, we wind up seeing with Errol Spence and Mikey Garcia, it's a blowout, one-sided matchup. So in talking about Teofimo Lopez, he mentioned Richard Comey. And Richard Comey, he's like, I think he said Richard Comey is going to beat Teofimo Lopez. And I believe that's the case as well. And that is, here's the thing with Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo Lopez is, in my opinion, Teofimo Lopez is an exceptional talent. But I think he's getting ahead of himself in a whole bunch of different ways. Leading into the actual fight on ESPN Plus, they did this show about what was going on in his life outside of the ring, and how his mother for many years, for his, I guess since he was in the amateurs, was his nutritionist, planning out the meals, planning out his meals, cooking his food, doing all that type of stuff. He got rid of his mother as the nutritionist. He fired his mother from his team. Man, what's wrong with you, Teofimo Lopez? There's got to be some way that you could handle that, but you don't handle it without actually having to have people know that you fired your mother. There's something that's fundamentally wrong about that. But I think that it is more of a fallout from the relationship. I guess he's got married to an older woman, looking at the lady and looking at Teofimo. The lady's a young lady. I mean, she might not be in her early 20s, but she's far from some old crone. But whatever, there's these fallouts between Teofimo Lopez and his mother and sister and his new wife, right? So just a whole bunch of stuff going on in his growing process, right? He's growing and he's a young man. I think he's 21, 22 years old, somewhere around there. And, he's growing into manhood. He's got money in the bank. I'm sure he has his own place to live. He's a star. He's making it, getting to where he wants to go, living out his dreams in boxing. And anybody that as you grow up, like a lot of times, 18, 19, you got 19-year-olds, they're leaving their house, right? From their parents. Now, he just happens to be leaving his house and leaving his mother to be a professional athlete, but it's still the same growth dynamic going on with him as a young man. So if you mix that up, that's why I'm saying he's just going too fast. If you're changing up, number one, from a technical point of view in the ring, he's just trying to hunt people down and trying to make this get the knockouts. And if he would have just boxed Nakatani, won on points, tried to make sure he was hitting and not getting hit, right? Goes 12 rounds with him, but it doesn't really look like Nakatami's touching him much, right? And he's using good defense. He's not just sitting there like this, being a sucker for a straight right hand over and over and over again. Even if he won and he shut him out, his stock might not drop because they're like, man, this dude, not only can he knock you out, he can also box. But when you compound the needing to get mature in the ring with needing to be more mature outside the ring, along with an extremely aggressive program to get you to be a world champion at a very young age, man, that could be a recipe for disaster. There's not a lot of fighters that can pull that off, man. If you look at Mike Tyson, for example, Mike Tyson was somebody that flew to success very quickly at an early age. I do believe to this date, he's the youngest heavyweight champion ever. I think he's either 19 or 20 years old when he won that belt. And he beat all these guys back to back to back. He beat Larry Holmes. He beat Michael Spinks. He beat Trevor. Was it Trevor? Not Trevor Berbick. He beat can't remember the name of the Olympic gold medalist that he beat. Right, beat guys back to back to back to back to back. Right, making a ton of money, living his dreams, and then he lost focus, and boom, there you have Buster Douglas. If Teofimo Lopez does not get his head together, and I believe have his career slowed down a little bit, he screw around and get done like Mike Tyson did against Buster Douglas with Richard Comey. And my understanding is these guys are supposed to be fighting in their next fight. I think Teofimo Lopez needs to listen to Lomachenko and not be fooled for Richard Comey, and definitely stay away from Vasily Lomachenko. Vasily Lomachenko will box that boy's ears off. I can't see him stopping him, but I can see him hitting him all day. I can see him hitting him all day. And I do believe that Vasiliy Lomachenko takes a pretty decent shot when he's actually hit. And that's another thing about Teofimo Lopez in that last fight. His power just didn't look that good. So anyway, I really believe that Vasiliy Lomachenko is right, that was a bad look for him for Teofimo Lopez to struggle with Nakatani. And also, I do agree with Lomachenko that Richard Comey is going to beat him. And I think that the solution to this problem is to please Teofimo Lopez slow down. That's why to the subscriber that disagreed with me about whether Teofimo Lopez was a prospect or not, that's why I call Teofimo Lopez a prospect. I do not care if they give that prospect a title shot because I don't think that he's ready. I don't think that his whole thing is together. How he's approaching his life outside the ring, that transition from boyhood to manhood, how he is being moved through the ranks, just trying to look out to be a highlight knockout type of guy and attract attention to himself versus seeing different types of fighters and learning how to deal with different fighters so that when you get in there with a fighter that is a multi-dimensional type of fighter, that you'll know how to deal with his plan A, plan B, plan C, all that good stuff. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.